It's time for Sustainable Living with Glenn Boblitz, the show that helps you be prepared to care for your family regardless of the circumstances that may come your way. Now, here's your host for today, Mark Lamb.
Glenn, you're here to talk about what today?
Cucumbers.
Cucumbers.
I haven't had a real good season. Hot weather has really kind of made them kind of bitter.
Okay.
But they're struggling, got a little rain, and now everybody's happy again and growing like crazy.
It's ironic, Janet was in the studio a little while ago when you got here, and she said, can we talk about drought some more so it'll rain more?
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, can you talk about how poor I am? And then maybe I'll be rich?
So it must be opposite month or something. Yeah, that's what happened. First time I said anything about drought and got 3 inches of rain in the next 2 weeks. So here we go.
Yeah. So they are a little bit bitter because of the heat, though, you say?
Yeah, they put out that to keep animals from eating them, bugs from eating them, and
right.
Kept me from eating them.
Well, you said in the last episode there were like little prickly things. It gets little prickly things on the outside.
Yeah, the
more so
the
than
leaves.
normal.
Yeah, the leaves and the stems will put out these little hairs, and it helps cool them off, and it also helps bugs from eating on them because they got spikes on them, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
And that's why you'll feel the leaves of your cucumbers right now are kind of rough, you know, and it's because they went through that drought and put out those little spikes.
Okay, I got you.
But what's happening now is we got a flush of rain, and these things been waiting to do some growing, and now they're growing like crazy. But having multiple layers of leaves over your cucumber patch is not good because the bees can't see the flowers.
Okay.
And it'll also set up fungus and bacteria and things to grow because there's no air movement. Air movement's really important to cucumbers or any of the vining plants, the watermelons, the cantaloupes, that kind of stuff. So you have to prune them a little bit. Now, some people like to trellis their cucumbers, so they're easier to pick. Some people put them on the ground. I got a combination of both. So train them up the fence, but they'll start putting out all these suckers everywhere. And the suckers are going to occur right at the same place that the cucumber is going to grow, at the node. And a node is nothing more than a little straight stem that comes up and makes a little knot, and a leaf comes out. That's the node. Okay. Also, that's where the flowers occurred, and also that's where these suckers come out. And the reason you want to pull off some of them suckers is because if you just let them all continue to grow, you'll have all vine and not very good cucumbers.
Okay.
So all that energy and nutrients is being diverted over to the vegetation.
Okay.
The leaves and the tendrils and all that kind of stuff. So you wanted to pay more attention to the fruit because that's what you're after. I mean, what are you growing the darn things for? You're growing them for the cucumbers, not the pretty big leaves.
Right.
So you have to prune these suckers. Now, them suckers, like I said, when they first come out, you'll see them, and it'll be just a little cluster of a baby leaf coming out. You'll see it, and you can just pinch it right off. I like to pinch them just above the stem, not right at the node, because you may set up a infection right there. But at any rate, so the reason we're doing this is for a little better air movement. Keeping the vine manageable so it doesn't run, over into your tomatoes, and because that's a mess because you can't do nothing with it then. You just pretty much got to whack it off. Yeah. But the main stem, they call it the leader, a single main leader. If you've only got 2 cucumber plants, you'll let it come up, branch out 3 times. Now you have 3 leaders, the main stem and 3 leaders. So you would prune those, and you'll get a much better crop. Okay. You'll put out much better flowers. Did you know that cucumbers has a male and a female flower?
I did not know
They
that.
do. How do you tell the difference?
Okay.
The female flower is the one that's going to put out the cucumber. Now, bees will come and find the male flower, but that doesn't help you. All that it's going to allow to do is a cross-pollination, but you don't want too many of these male flowers or you won't get as many female flowers and you won't get as many cucumbers. So you can look at the flower. If it doesn't have a little bulb at the end of the flower, that is a male flower, and pinch it off. There you go, guys, taking us out again. So, but that will produce more cucumbers for you.
Okay, all right.
Again, pulling off some of the suckers and the larger sun leaves. The sun leaves will get older, get sun bleach, get little spots on them. Just pinch some of them off. So
Okay.
you have air flowing through and exposes the flowers so the bees can see them, because bees are all oriented to color and smells. That's how bees find those flowers. So if it's too dense, the bees won't go in. If you ever notice, honeybees, any of our real good pollinators are kind of cumbersome when they fly. They don't have that quick movement. They're just like a B-52 coming in, you know, and they may be loaded with
Slow but sure.
right. They
Yeah.
may be loaded with honey and pollen, so they're not as agile. So they go for the easy flowers, the ones they can see, the ones that have a good landing zone and takeoff zone. So that
Okay.
kind of makes sense for you. The sun leaves, the really great big giant ones, if they're beat up, just pinch them off about an inch away from the main leader and get rid of it. And honest to goodness, pruning will stimulate that vine. If your vine's not doing real well, pinch it back and it'll take off. Especially with this range we've had, it'll
Right.
do much better. You'll start getting some new growth, and you'll see that you're getting more flowers, hence more cucumbers. Again, protect the main stem, even if it's a three-stem plant. So protect your main stem. Don't try not to injure it, because that's where all the nutrients are going to come from.
Okay.
Tendrils. A tendril is that little string that you see that reaches out and grabs a hold of your tomato plant that you didn't want it to grab a hold of and spins around. Now that takes a lot of energy to do that
Sure.
from the plant. That's because when you first look at the tendril, it's straight out. You know, it's just a little string hanging out in there, and all of a sudden, it does these 25 curls onto a trellis, and you go, "How did it know to do that?" It's almost like a hand. How
Yeah.
did it know to do that?
To grab
Well,
onto
that
it.
takes a lot of energy.
Sure.
So the rule of thumb is, for every 2 tendrils you pinch off, you get another cucumber. That's how much energy you saved for the plant.
Well, I'm looking at what you're talking about. It's a little green fence, like one of these little wire mesh fences,
Right.
and it's spun, like you said, this one looks like it's 15 to 20 times.
Exactly. How does it know to do that?
Yeah.
Good design.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going with.
Okay.
So we talked about the overlapping of leaves. You really don't need that. You need that air movement. You need that sunshine coming in on the flower, and so the bees can see it, and it'll promote new growth. So that's the main reason, with removing suckers and conserving energy. Damaged leaves or leaves that are already fallen off onto the ground, you need to keep that area cleaned up. Don't let old leaves, because it may have been a diseased leaf
Right.
that fell off.
It could be corrupted.
Right.
Right.
So you want to clean that stuff up, keep your garden cleaned up, keep your weeds out from underneath of it. And we're coming into the weed and seed season. Weeds may be popping up, but if you look, they're starting to flower out and put out seeds. So if you don't want to weed like crazy next year, don't let the seeds hit the ground and infect your ground with a bunch of weed seeds. So I know it's hot, but get out there and weed your garden. Keep it cleaned up so you don't have to fight them so much next year. You're not going to ever have a weed-free garden,
Right.
but a weed-less garden is better. The cantaloupes and watermelons are starting to get pretty big. Now, if you look out and you see you've got 100 watermelons on one vine, that's too much. What you're going to end up with is a bunch of small watermelons that'll never really mature and produce a nice, big, sweet watermelon. It's too much energy. So you may
Well,
want to
can I
cull
stop you there
some of
just
them.
for a second? Because
Yes.
I've never thought of it. Like, there's a certain amount of energy needed.
Sure.
And with all these offshoots, it's pulling energy from the actual growth. I've never thought of it that way. The actual growth process of whatever you're trying to grow.
Sure. And there's several reasons for pruning the watermelon vines, and it's the same reason I'm talking about the cucumbers. You want that airflow, so you don't set up bacteria or fungi to get in there, but you're limiting the amount of fruit that it can put out. So you have good quality fruit, very large fruit, because it can put all its energy into it. And the later in the year we go, the more the plant starts to concentrate on the fruit itself because it wants to reproduce itself. So it wants to put out seeds. It wants to have the biggest fruit it can possibly put out, the most mature seeds, and hence you'll have the nicest watermelons you ever had. I've got cantaloupe right now the size of a basketball.
Really?
A
Wow.
cantaloupe. It's probably the biggest one I've
Wow.
grown in quite a few years.
Yeah.
And, it's just good weather, finally turned for it at the right time. Same way as same way as my grapes. Grapes are coming on. There's a lot happening right now.
Yeah.
My wife and I have been canning like crazy. Everything is coming out, but now it's all kind of crescendoed into.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, grapes next week. So you're gonna have to keep up with your garden. I know it's a lot, and when you do all this pruning that I'm talking about, it like I said, it's going to stimulate growth. So you're going to have to continue to sucker the whole time. And it's just been so hot, it's hard to get people motivated to come home from work, go out into the garden at the hottest part of the day. Well, maybe you might want to get up a little earlier.
Yeah.
It'll benefit you. I'll
Sure.
guarantee that. My wife's up at the crack of dawn, and, come down, I got a cup of coffee waiting on me, and she's gone already. And kind of makes me feel bad for about 3 seconds. But
Oh, wow.
But
That's
she
short-lived.
she takes care of me. That's a fact. But she's looking out for herself. But trimming your cantaloupes and watermelons for the same reason. If you want these big giant watermelons like you see at the store, and you want them to be super sweet, they have to have the energy to do that. And
Right.
if your garden has been taken care of and you did all this work, don't you want to reap the benefits of it? And that's part of it. You're going to have to limit that fruit to get the biggest size fruits. Same way with like the giant pumpkins. I think the
Yeah.
world record now is like 1,300 pounds. Are you kidding me?
That's ridiculous, man.
They
Jeez.
stopped that plant from producing anything else but that one pumpkin. So they find the biggest one there and they eliminate all the rest. And that's how they put all the energy for that giant plant. And
Right.
and the vine will be huge.
Right.
But they don't
It's
allow
all shooting it all to one.
all to one.
Yeah.
Just putting all your eggs in one basket is
Yeah.
what them guys do. But now it's a competition.
Sure.
But
Well, how do they even? I mean, I don't know how you pick that thing up. I guess you don't. I don't know. They just say, "Well, here's a picture of it in place."
No, they pick them up, put them on a pallet, and after they.
So I
burn,
guess
of
maybe
course.
that if you dig enough dirt underneath it, you're going to preserve it, and it's not going to. How strong? Okay, now I'm going off on a tangent, brother. How strong is that thing? Because I've seen them; they're huge. But what I mean by strong is a pumpkin's pretty tough.
Right.
It's got a tough exterior. Pound for pound, is that thing tough enough to hold itself together?
Well, you have to be kind of gentle with them.
Yeah.
Because it has 1,300 pounds pushing down on the bottom, and
Sure.
that's why they flatten out at the bottom anyway.
Okay.
They get kind of squatty. It's just their own weight's crushing them. It's,
Yeah.
It's kind of like a whale on the beach. Once that happens, he doesn't have the muscle to move himself. He's too big.
Right.
Same way with these pumpkins. If you try to roll one over,
Sure.
you're going to bust it.
Yeah.
But they've grown these things over the years to be tougher, and
Right.
and the meat on them's like 5 inches thick.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's just crazy.
Yeah,
So,
but are they even tasty at that point?
no, I doubt that.
Yeah.
I think it's all show.
Yeah.
But what a show!
Yeah, but what a show. You're right.
And it used to be you'd see one or two of these giant things, and now it's a competition all over the United States for the giantest pumpkin. My wife has a record for the sweet potato, and don't you think she doesn't brag about
Oh,
that?
my
And I
gosh.
brag on her. So
Sure.
I can understand all that.
So is pumpkin the only one that will? I mean, I know you mentioned your cantaloupe here a little while ago, but I mean, is the pumpkin the one that takes it all, takes the cake,
that
so
and
to
the
speak?
watermelon.
The watermelon. See, now I haven't seen super large watermelons like that.
I've seen a picture of a 150-pound watermelon.
Wow.
That's what I'm after right there.
Yeah.
Me and my sister, we just, grew up kind of poor, so getting watermelons was a thing.
Sure.
But now we just, both of us just gorge ourselves on watermelon and cantaloupe. She came down from Maryland and actually took a van load of watermelons home that I had grew. She's just like it. She's like that little groundhog we see.
Wow. Oh,
pulling
yeah.
up
Yeah,
stuff. Yeah. She's got a habit, is what I'm thinking. But I hope y'all do some of this pruning and see the results of it, so you get these giant, tasty, nutritious fruit. You know, the sweeter it is, the more nutrients you're getting, and that's the whole purpose. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
so you have better fruit, have better quality fruit. Peaches are out. Have you had a peach from the store?
I have not. No.
I haven't had one in a long time because there's no taste. They're
Oh, really?
hard, you know. If a peach doesn't run down your elbow when you take that first bite, you know, it's just not a peach to me.
Wow.
So that's what I want.
Okay.
Some of our peaches have come in this year, so the pruning I did in the spring, early spring, has paid off. But they're not as big as they were last year. And
Okay.
It's because of the drought season that we had, but it's coming back.
Okay. We're going to take a break right here. Glenn, where do you want to go when we come back? Because we've covered, some of the pruning process that you were talking about and how to.
When to prune, what to prune.
Okay.
We'll just finish it up there.
Okay. We're with Glenn Boblitz right now, Sustainable Living Made Easy, our weekly podcast. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back in a moment.
Get ready for a new soundtrack for your life. Doc Rock, Smith Mountain Lake. It's music that'll take away your troubles for a while.
That's what I'm talking about!
Wake up with Janet and Mark on the Morning Jam. They'll keep you informed and encouraged, and we all need more of that.
This ain't jam.
You're invited to be a part of the Doc Rock family, your feel-good station. Doc Rock, Smith Mountain Lake.
We're back with more Sustainable Living with Glenn Boblitz. Be sure to look for Sustainable Living on Facebook for even more information and follow-up conversations with other members. Now, here's your host, Mark Lamb.
Well, Glenn, we have covered a lot of ground already. I've learned something already today that I didn't know there was a male and a female cuke out there. And, that
Well, how do you think baby cukes come around? Come on,
this
let's
is
get
true.
with it here.
This is true, and I didn't understand the energy aspect of plants and how, I know that pruning rather, but it is kind of purging.
Yeah.
Pruning helps, the rest of your plant become more vital, have more vitality
Sure.
with the ones that are there. So if you're thinking, hey, I'm getting 10 watermelons, well, you might be better off actually with 5,
Right.
and they're going to taste better.
If you allow the plant to overburden itself, it'll still put out something, but it's not going to be the quality that you're really after. You may never have had a really good watermelon that is that sweet. So if you try it just once, if you've got several plants, whether it's watermelon, cucumber, or cantaloupes, whatever it is, just try it on one of the plants and convince yourself when that thing is ripe, is it better?
Right.
And I'd bet it would. Apple trees are the same way. Early in the year, apple trees just had bukus of apples, too many apples.
Right.
So you would end up with a bunch of small apples rather than the nice big apples. And limiting the number that the tree has to take care of or produce sugars for, that kind of thing, you'll end up with much larger fruit and better tasting fruit. So
And it's almost like the plant is asking you, please prune it. I want to give you the best I can possibly give you.
Get these kids out of my house. I think there's too many of them. So you remove some of the younger ones off of it, and that way you're not overburdening the plant, and you'll get these nice, beautiful fruits that you're after. I mean, it's all about the nutrition for me to start with, and then bragging rights. I mean, last year we had the 1 pound peach. I mean, that's unheard of.
Yeah.
And it's because we've done so much pruning and care for the plants, and that's what you're going to have to do.
Yeah.
You can't just put a seed in the ground and think you're going to harvest. That's not how it works, folks.
No, it's a lot more work.
So
and it makes you appreciate what you do pick up.
The one thing that I do want to point out is try to do your prunings and things like that. Anytime you cut a plant, you're opening up a wound on it. So if you do it in the early morning before you go to work or the crack of dawn before you go out on your morning run, go pinch some of that stuff off, and you want to do it on a dry day that you're going to have a nice sunny day. And what will happen is that thing will scale over during the day and seal itself off, and that's what we want. Don't want bad bacteria getting in there. So That's probably the last tip I have for pruning on cucumbers and vining plants.
Okay. I have a question about the tomatoes that I've been growing, the yellow one, and you talked about blistering
Right.
a bit. And I did notice, at least on my one plant, because I have them in different places, that when it blisters, it was attracting ants because it's got an open wound now,
Sure.
And it's the ants are in there going crazy.
Well, there's sweet ants, and then there's sweet ants, sugar ants, whatever you want to call them. And then there's these wet ants, whether they're after moisture. And if your plant has moisture in it and the fruit has the moisture, they'll use it. The sugar ants, they're detecting the food source, and they'll go after it. And being that it has a nice open wound from sun scald or whatever, they'll tear it up. Birds too. Birds have absolutely been wreaking havoc on some of our tomatoes. And I just think it's because of the food sources are not as plentiful as they once were because of the drought. And they went, wow, look at that real nice pink tomato. That's what irks me.
Yeah.
If I had plenty of red tomatoes, that's okay. But, I'm waiting on my first tomato to come out to have a tomato sandwich, to celebrate the season.
Yes.
And a bird come along and got it, I don't shoot the birds, but I think about it.
Right. No, I get it.
But we're starting to catch up. We're getting a lot of tomatoes now, so, he can have one or two, I suppose.
So, and we joked about, the drought and the rain, to talk about drought, bring more rain, but we will get more rain later this week. What are some of the concerns? I know we addressed it a little bit last week when we talked about the drought, but what are your concerns with getting lots of rain right now with the way things have been leading up to that point?
Typically, July is supposed to be our wettest month. Typically. There's nothing typical about the whole world at the moment, but we put mulch down just for that. Mulch is a great stabilizer of moisture. It'll suck up a huge rain, does not allow the erosion to wash your soils away out of your garden. So that's something you might want to start consider doing.
And see if my memory is working. Then there's sort of a slow release of that moisture back because it sucked it in and it slowly releases.
It's kind of like a sponge. A sponge will hold a lot of water until it's totally waterlogged, and then it'll pass it on through. But in the meantime, it is holding a huge amount of water for your garden, and your soils below, if they start to get dry, they'll pull that moisture out. It's just a capillary action between a higher density, and it just pulls that water in. So it stabilizes the water in your garden, and that may last for up to a month. This kind of rain that we've just had will sustain my garden for a month if I don't put anything else on it. As long as I don't get up to 101 degrees.
Right.
I mean, nothing does good at that. It's just too darn hot. They can't breathe. They can't breathe in or out, so they just kind of go dormant. That's what's happened to my cucumbers. They just kind of went dormant. They go, we're not working out this heat either.
Right.
But now they go, wide open.
So there's a sort of a stunting of the growth because of the drought. Will we see some immediate benefits? And what is the concern of pulling your vegetables too soon or your fruits too soon because you got a nice rain?
Right.
Can it give you a false look, in other words?
I don't think it's going to give you a false look, but you should probably harvest what you can, because we are in a cycle of the sun where it's going to put out hotter summers, and I think it's like a 36-year cycle, so we're coming into the really hottest part of the sun cycle. Now, on the backside of that cycle, we have really cool summers. I mean, we've all experienced, gosh, it didn't go over 90-some degrees, people would say, and you wonder why that is. Well, it's just the cycle of the sun, how close it is to, it's a solar system.
Right.
You figure it out.
Right.
It's not just your backyard,
Right.
It's the whole thing. It's the big picture.
Right. Well, and we would hear from certain people, especially politicians and, scientists that have a certain political bent, to tell you it's this, that, and the other with the climate change. Isn't it interesting how they changed it from global warming to climate change? It's sort of like, well, just in case it gets cold, let's just call it climate change. I'm just saying.
Statistics are set up to whatever outcome you want.
Right. I heard that a while ago.
I
from
took a statistics class.
Yeah.
It was horrible because I found out it was worthless.
Yeah.
And I'm doing, what am I doing in this class? If I can make statistics say whatever I want,
Yeah.
why don't I just say what I want to say and
Yeah.
go on with it? Well, that's what they're doing to us.
I had a guy about 10 years ago tell me that when it came to radio, when it came to being able to manipulate numbers to make it have the outcome you wanted to. And he said, I took statistics in college, and trust me, I can make it say whatever I want to.
Right. And if it wasn't for that, CNN would be off the air.
Oh, Lordy.
There we are.
Well, any other final thoughts that you'd
I
like
think
to
that's
plug
about
in there?
it. People have heard me talk enough about cucumbers for goodness sakes. I mean,
Well, I do
it's
like-
not a huge subject, but it's a good one for me. I like a salad.
Well, and they're so versatile because the way you can pickle them, and
My goodness. And we haven't had very many good pickling cucumbers this year. Just the heat, it was not a good pickling year.
Yeah.
But we ate the fire out of them just on a salad. I know that.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, Glenn, thank you as always for being here and helping us understand better, what to do in our gardens and quite frankly how things work and how God has really asked us to partner with Him.
Well, that's what I'm putting out.
Yeah.
I'm just repeating what God showed me.
Yeah.
And He said, go out and tell them. So there we are.
Yeah, there we are. Well, until we do this again, Glenn Ballblitz, Sustainable Living. Have a good week.
You too.
Join us again next week for Sustainable Living with Glenn Ballblitz, helping you be prepared and not scared. This podcast drops every Friday anywhere you get your podcast.